What's going on, everybody? I'm Mark Radigan. I'm joined today with the freshman phenom, Rhode Island native, and URI men's basketball point guard, Sebastian Thomas. Sebastian, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here, happy to have you join me. So, the first thing I want to start with is when you came to URI, they wanted to redshirt you. Like, that was the thought process with Coach Cox and his coaching staff, because you had said that you were thinking about going to prep school, and then COVID obviously made that a problem, and then you decided to come to URI. Was that something that you had thought was best for you, or was that something that you were like, you know what, I'm going to listen to the coaches on this one and kind of just like go along with what they say? Or did you feel ready at that point at the start of the season?
So on my visit, we were talking, we were actually sitting up here eating and stuff like that, and they were talking to me about going to high school, doing another year of high school, or coming here early and stuff like that. And they talked to my parents about it, and my mom really liked the fact that I could come here and just get an extra year of training with the players and practicing and stuff like that, just to be ready for the next year. So they kind of really encouraged me to come here instead of doing another year of prep school. So,
did you feel like that you were ready physically for the intensity of college basketball when you were looking at URI?
I didn't really know what to expect, just because I was always playing at the high school level and stuff like that. And I was able to have success with my frame and stuff like that. But going into college, I wasn't really sure what to expect from practicing with the guys. A lot of the guys are much bigger than me and taller than me, stronger. But I was able to make it work and stuff like that. So over the course of the time I was here so far, I feel like I put on a little bit of weight, but we're still working on it.
When you first came, like, you obviously, it was brand new to you, didn't really know anybody. Who were some of the guys in the locker room that you kind of like gravitated toward as guys you think would mentor you as like the season went on?
I would say Antoine Walker was like the first guy that really stuck out to me. He came on my visit to dinner with me, him and Ish El-Amin. So those two guys, I would say, were probably the biggest two. AC, who's Austin Carroll, we just call him AC. He talked to me before coming on the visit and stuff like that. He told me that Antoine was really excited to have me on the visit and stuff like that. He really wanted to play with me after watching my game and stuff like that. But I would say those two were the most impactful and helpful for me during this year.
So you showed out during preseason. Johnson and Wales, you played well, and then throughout preseason, the coaches started to like really think that, okay, this could work. Then the decision to redshirt you was kind of taken off the table, and they believe that they can give you minutes. Then you made your collegiate debut against Boston University. You had 2 points, you had a rebound and an assist in front of a packed Ryan Center. What was that like for you, like kind of realizing, I made it, I'm playing college ball, and I got my first bucket?
Yeah, it was an incredible feeling, kind of like the weeks heading up to the game. I think we scrimmaged St. John's, and then we played an exhibition game against Johnson and Wales. I think the fans and the URI community was hearing a lot about me on social media and stuff like that, but actually stepping on the court for the first time, it was just amazing feeling.
Did you have a lot of experience going to URI basketball games growing up somewhat in PC, or was it more of like a PC over URI type of thing?
Yeah, funny thing is I've never went to a URI game before, like I've got here and stuff like that. I've always went to PC games just because they were closer, and they were good at the time, not saying URI wasn't, but they had Chris Dunn and Bryce Cotton and those guys, so it was fun watching them come up.
As a freshman, you obviously are the new guy on the block. It's not really expected that you're going to be making that big of an impact on a team, especially with so many people in the same position as you that were much more matured, much older, and having played college ball for a longer amount of time. But throughout the start of the season, your minutes started to go up, you started to produce more, and you really started to impress the coaching staff. And then that, as you impressed them, they started to put more faith in you, and then obviously the minutes started to go up. How did that sort of faith that Coach Cox and his staff put into you, how did that like help elevate your game?
Just coming into URI my first year, I was always a confident person in myself and stuff like that. I always believed in myself. So kind of when I put my mind to things and stuff like that, I've always just had that belief that I could do it and stuff like that. But with them adding more faith into me and kind of like giving me the go-ahead to really put me out there in valuable situations and games and stuff like that, it was just really helped me out there on the court for my performance.
Do you feel like that your performances were reflected in like the locker room, like how players would like treat you and like how players would like interact with you? Do you feel like that they would be like more thrilled to have you playing as you started to really impress both fans and the coaches?
Definitely. I feel like coming in as a freshman anywhere, you have to earn your respect from the older guys and stuff like that. And I feel like I did that, and then me just being able to connect with the guys and them giving me advice, I feel like that was just a great experience so far.
On December 4th, you had the opportunity to play in Providence versus URI at the Dunk. It was in front of a sellout crowd of mainly Providence fans. Having been there myself, I could tell how hostile the crowd was. Growing up as a kid from Providence, what was that experience like playing on the court at the Dunk?
It was an amazing experience, you know, just being from Rhode Island and being from Providence and being able to play on the Dunkin' Donuts Center with a sellout crowd. I really didn't think too much of it during the game, but the night before we had shoot around and the Dunkin' Donuts Center was empty and stuff like that, and it was really nerve-wracking just to see how many seats there were, empty seats obviously because nobody was there. But I would say it was more nerve-wracking the night before we had shoot around than playing in the game. And actually the game was pretty fun. I feel like I did okay. But I'm obviously disappointed that we didn't get the win.
After the start of the season, you went into the second half of the season 12-4, really impressive displays from everybody on the team, and you really started to make Rhodey fans believe that something could really be made of this season and beyond. But then results started to not really go your way. And as you believe it was a 5 straight losing streak, how did the locker room kind of react to that? Like what was the feeling in the locker room as that was going on, and what was being done to try and keep the heads cool?
This past year, the second half of the season, it was really difficult for us to kind of manage how we were playing and stuff like that. You know, we hadn't got a win in so long, so we were just doing and trying anything to get a win. But in the locker room, we didn't really see eye to eye during that losing streak. We kind of always pointed the finger at the next person and kind of blamed everyone else instead of like kind of figuring out what we were doing wrong individually and stuff like that. And I feel like that's what kind of led to our performances over that 6-game or 7-game losing streak.
During a streak like that, and in this day and age, everyone is on social media, were you at all paying attention to rumblings that were on social media, or did any social media postings or just like threads ever kind of come to light in the locker room that affected yourself or anybody mentally?
I would say like after every game, I definitely check social media just because I'm curious to what the fans think, like what they are saying about us and our team and stuff like that. And I just saw a lot of fans saying fire Coach Cox and things like that, which I didn't really agree with because they didn't really see what was going on inside the locker room and inside our practices every single day. So I just kind of felt like not really sad, but I was just disappointed because they don't really know what goes on, and they don't know how much work every guy from the coaching staff to the managers put in.
Was it difficult to truly block out that outside noise?
After we went on like a 5-game losing streak, it was definitely a little bit difficult to like block it out because they kind of expected us to lose and stuff like that, and we weren't winning. So,
on that note, after the 6 straight losses, you're coming up against Davidson. You narrowly lost to Davidson earlier in the season, but now you're out of form. Davidson are still soaring high, and they're coming to the Ryan Center. I was at the Ryan Center. There was not a big crowd there. But against every odd, besides even the most optimistic Rhodey fans didn't predict this, you came out and beat Davidson. Can you walk me through that game? What was going through your head as you were trying to play, but then also what was going through the locker room and how people were reacting to both what they saw in the stands and how it was afterward?
Definitely. Leading up to the game, us as a team, we felt very confident just because of our past game we had at Davidson when we were up, I think, like 6 or 7 with like 4 or 5 minutes left. And then we just kind of lost focus that game. We lost by a couple mistakes that we made in the last 2 minutes. But leading up to this game, we felt very confident in our game plan. Throughout the whole year, our game plan was spot on by whoever the coach who did the scout was, and we just couldn't execute. But this game in particular, we all felt very confident. We felt like we matched up with those guys really well, and we just came out and we executed the game plan. But definitely going into warm-ups and not seeing a crowd there, it was a little bit disappointing just because Davidson was like the #1 team in our conference for a long time, but we're happy we got the victory.
So then after the Davidson game, the woes kind of continued. There wasn't really much of a winning form as the season drew to a close and you finished 14-15. Once that final game at St. Joe's had ended, what was the mentality shift? How did the locker room, how did the coaches, how did everybody react from going, okay, regular season's over, postseason's about to begin?
In the postseason, it's really win or go home. So basically everybody's record is really 0-0. So it doesn't matter if it was the best team or the worst team in the conference, whoever just had the best game that particular night was gonna come out victorious.
So then Atlantic 10 tournament in Washington, D.C. You're an 11 seed, you're in a play-in game on that first Wednesday. As a freshman, obviously you're not in the best situation as a team because you obviously want to be a higher seed, you wish you finished the season better, but you're still in the Atlantic 10 tournament. As a freshman, how was that experience for you traveling down to Washington and being able to participate in a tournament on the same court as the Wizards, is the same court as so many greats have played? Being able to just do that and try and help your team really push through the tournament.
It was just shocking walking into the arena because I think they have the hockey team as well playing in that arena, and the arena was just so big. But yeah, it was just a great experience, you know. Our team played, we did okay. Antoine had a very big game, I think, against Duquesne in the first game. He had 17 points, so he really helped us get the victory and stuff like that. But at halftime, I feel like one of the key turning point, and maybe the most important turning point we had so far throughout the year, one of our coaches came in the locker room and he yelled at us, screamed at us, and we really instantly clicked after that. And going into the second half, I feel like that's what helped us win that game.
And so then you followed that game up with Richmond. The team was playing very well in the first half, but they weren't able to get it done in the second half. And then Richmond, who eventually went on to win the Atlantic 10 tournament, knocked you guys out. What was the feeling after that game for you personally, just kind of in the locker room? Was it just, obviously it was very somber, but what was just kind of the mood?
Me personally, I was crying. A lot of the other guys were sad, you know. I really wasn't looking at other people, I was just laying on the floor. But it was just disappointing blowing another 15-point lead or 15-point lead against Richmond again, because when we played them at home, we had the same situation and we kind of folded again. So, but they're a great team, and I think second half we just lost focus and what we needed to get, what needed to get done and stuff like that.
After that game, I was in the press room and I had the chance to speak to Coach Cox during the press conference, and he had been asked a couple questions about his future, because obviously at that point no one had really known what was going on and what the decision was going to be. And then following the press conference, after he had said that he was relatively confident that he wanted to come back, the decision was made that they were going to part ways. How did you react to the news when it broke that Cox had been dismissed?
Well, my teammate woke me up from my sleep. We were still in Washington, D.C. at the hotel, and we hopped on a Zoom meeting and stuff like that, and they just broke the news to us. It was very disappointing for me, considering they brought me in, their staff brought me in, and I had a great relationship with Coach Cox. And I think the rest of my teammates felt the same way, and that's why a lot of the guys entered the portal and stuff like that.
So then, obviously, the university went into a nationwide search for a new coach, and it happened very quickly. And then soon enough, the university decided to hire Archie Miller, who is an experienced head coach. He's basically Atlantic 10 coaching royalty from the stuff that he has done at Dayton. What was your initial reaction to his hiring? And when you did eventually meet him, how did that first impression kind of go?
My initial reaction to hearing the news about him being the new head coach at URI, it was really, like, I don't know how to describe it. It was really just, my mind was just point blank. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what his vision was coming in as the new head coach and stuff like that. So I really just did my research on him, saw the success he had, and I wanted to meet him and stuff like that just to see where he was at. And then I got to meet him, and we kind of have the same vision for the program and stuff like that. I think with him being here and being who he is, I feel like we can really strive as a program.
His coaching staff was just recently announced after a couple weeks of trying to find the perfect staff to really bring this program up. Have you had the chance to meet any of the new assistant coaches or other coaches for that matter?
Yeah, I've got a chance to meet all of them actually. You know, I usually go up to the coaching office and watch film with Austin Carroll and stuff like that. So throughout their weeks here, their couple weeks, I've been able to meet them, get to know them a lot better, stuff like that. And I think our relationship is going to continue to improve.
So having Coach Carroll back, Coach Carroll was the only remaining coach left after the university parted ways with Cox and the rest of his staff. How do you feel that over the next couple of seasons, having Carroll still a member of this program, how do you think that's going to benefit your game overall?
It definitely will benefit me. You know, he's the main guy who recruited me to come here at URI, so our relationship is like this. And then we're just going to continue to improve our relationship, and with him having the new coaching staff being brought in and him being retained and stuff like that, it just felt comfortable for me to get to know all the other coaches just because I have a great relationship with him.
Yeah. So after any major program shift, you're obviously going to have players questioning their future and questioning what they want to do in order to help better set them up post-college. So with that said, you had a lot of players enter the transfer portal, including a number of your roommates. I remember you had put on Twitter saying, all my roommates are gone. Yeah. How did you feel when you had seen that, like, Ish and Malik and Antoine, they had put their names into the portal? How did you feel initially after that? But then how relieved must you have felt after they had come back, or at least Malik and Ish?
It was scary just because I didn't really know what I was going to do at the time, and they would just enter the portal and stuff like that, and they were just seeing what was best for them. But it was definitely relieving to get 2 out of the 3 back. I mean, I wish Antoine came back, but I wish him the best at Bryant, and he's going to be able to strive in their program and stuff like that. So it's just good to see my 2 out of the 3 roommates come back, just because we have a great relationship, and we can establish a core of those 2 or 3 guys that came back, including myself.
After you had seen Ish, Malik, Antoine, Trey, all those guys put their name in the portal, did you ever have the slight thought of maybe you putting your name in the portal itself while also retaining your eligibility to come back?
I talked to my people around me, my close family and friends and stuff like that, and they really wanted me to just stick it out and see who the new head coach was going to be. And then based on our conversation, they told me if he didn't really like my game or he had a different vision, then I would have entered the transfer portal. But I didn't really have a big, eager to enter my name in the portal and stuff like that. I really just wanted to stay home.
So now that the season has fully come to an end, you've learned a lot, you were thrown into an environment that you didn't think that you were going to necessarily, and you had an incredibly tumultuous year, but one that you can look back on with a lot of fond memories. What do you think is your biggest takeaway and your biggest highlight from this season, whether it's your personal growth, whether it's something that the entire team was involved in? What was something that you really can look back and be like, that was fantastic from this season?
my favorite thing, I guess, was just being able to meet such special group of guys, from the managers to the coaching staff. And I would say a game that really stood out to me was at Richmond at home. I felt like coming off a bad loss against George Washington and stuff like that, and then the next game being Richmond, a veteran team, stuff like that, and I was thrown into the starting lineup like minutes before the game. I feel like we showed like togetherness and stuff like that. Our chemistry was great on the floor together. I feel like even though we didn't get the loss, it showed us a lot about ourselves.
You grew up in Providence. You grew up a Rhode Island kid. When do you believe was the time when you realized that you wanted to play basketball, or let alone college basketball?
I started to want to play basketball at a very young age. Like my dad, my family is a big basketball family. My cousin played at the Division III level at Johnson & Wales and had a lot of success there. He ended up leading the whole NCAA and scoring 2 years in a row. So yeah, really just, I wanted to play basketball at a very young age. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to play Division I basketball. That was just a dream. Obviously, a lot of young kids dream of playing Division I basketball, but I started playing basketball at like the age of 4.
So who would you say was like your biggest supporter growing up as you realized, okay, hey, I want to play basketball, I want to be successful in the sport? Who was your biggest supporter, and who was the biggest proponent of you trying to follow this dream?
I would have to say my dad and my cousin were my biggest supporters, my uncle as well. They really pushed me at a young age and stuff like that and wanted me to be great. Kind of follow the footsteps of my cousin, of what he did, but obviously we have a little bit different routes. He played at Division III level, I played at the Division I level. But credit goes to him for just preparing me to get where I'm at now.
So then as you grew up in Providence, how big of an impact was basketball in the community for you? Like, was that something that every day, like, you and your boys could go and play? Like, would you say like that was like something that really brought the community together?
Yeah, definitely. I felt like basketball was an outlet for me, at least, growing up in Providence, just to meet so many people and to experience so many memories and stuff like that. And then over the time, I feel like people in our community have done such a great job of bringing the community together, as like just throwing events and stuff like that, having the younger generation come out and support and be able to have fun and be able to compete against each other and stuff like that.
Growing up in Providence, how big of an impact did basketball have in your community? How much did that truly bring the community together?
Yeah, growing up, being able to play basketball throughout the area of Providence, stuff like that, brought a lot of me and my friends together and stuff like that. That's kind of how I met a lot of people I know today. It just gives us kids an outlet to be able to go out and have fun outside of like school and other things like that. And growing up in Providence really is two things you can do. You can either choose to be in the streets, which is not the right choice, or you can go play basketball or do something else that's, you can potentially make it out and play at a college level and stuff like that. So I think over the years, people in our community have done a great job of throwing camps or events just to get the community and the younger generation outside their house to just have fun with the little kids and stuff like that, be able to play basketball, football, whatever.
You're a shining example of someone who has successfully made it out. You picked the right path. And there's plenty of kids back in Providence that definitely see you as some sort of mentor. Do you think that you'd ever go back to Providence and just either meet with any of those kids and try and like share your experiences, or do anything more to help the Providence community?
Definitely. I feel like me going back to Providence would help a lot of younger kids be able to do what they want to do in life. This past month we went to the Boys and Girls Club in South Providence, and me being from Providence, I felt like I was able to connect with the younger kids because I was once in their position and stuff like that. So hearing their goals and just communicating with them, it really like inspired me to keep going and stuff like that. And hopefully I'll be able to inspire them.
Outside of basketball, growing up, what else were you interested in? Did you play any other sports, or did you have any other hobbies that took time away from basketball?
Yeah, growing up, I played football until the age of 12, and I did the same thing with baseball a little bit. So, 3-sport athlete.
When did you say that you began to truly start playing basketball at like a competitive level?
7th to 8th grade, it started getting competitive for me and stuff like that. And then going on to high school, it definitely was like a dream of mine to start playing at a really high level and be able to play at a Division I level.
You and your family decided to have you enroll at Bishop Hendricken. Hendricken is an all-boys school in Warwick that's nationally renowned for its athletics, particularly basketball, having won, I believe, 14 state championships since like 2004. So what went into that decision for you to enroll at Bishop Hendricken?
Really just the basketball history that school had. A lot of great, I would say, Rhode Island legends came out of that school. Jimmy Barron, Billy Barron, Ricky Lito. So just the basketball history they had, and then obviously I had family and friends that attended that school as well.
How do you think, having played there for 3 years, how do you think that school, with the reputation that it had, helped mold you as a player to allow you to come play at a level like this?
I think just with the history they have and what the coaching staff at Hendricken was able to bring to their teams and stuff like that, I feel like they really helped me become who I am today on and off the court.
You've spoken a bunch of times about how big of a role model your head coach at Bishop Hendricken was, Coach Gomes. How do you feel he molded you, not only as a basketball player, but also as just a person in general?
Coach Gomes is an unbelievable person outside of the basketball court. I feel like he really took me in, going in as a freshman and stuff like that, and really just showed me how to be more mature, stuff like that, going into Bishop Hendricken as a freshman. I really wasn't too focused on the school part of things, and outside of basketball, he was also a guidance counselor my first couple of years. So me and him had meetings about my grades and stuff like that, and just how I was doing. Like every week and a half, I would go to his office and we would just talk for like 20, 30 minutes. And just building a relationship with him, and he's just a very special person and someone I can always rely on to ask him if I need any advice or anything like that.
So you were obviously a high school athlete during the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, and playing basketball, that was greatly affected. How do you feel like the pandemic overall, now that it's kind of reared its ugly head, has impacted you as a person and a player through the changes that had to have been made and through all the different forms of adversity you had to go through as stuff was being shut down?
Yeah, so I was playing at Bishop Hendricken at the time, going into the state tournament, stuff like that. And I was 10 points away from getting my 1,000 points at Bishop Hendricken, and I wasn't able to get it there because of COVID, which shut everything down and stuff like that. So it was disappointing to not be able to get 1,000 points and potentially win the state championship. But just, it hurt me for my situation, just because I was a junior at the time, going into my senior year in high school, and you know, COVID impacted colleges as well, college athletes. They were able to get a year back. So for kids like me, I was on the fence of getting an offer or getting a spot to play on a college roster, or having to do another year of prep school. And I felt like that was probably one of the biggest things that COVID impacted, or how COVID impacted me.
So what went into your decision to actually attend prep school? Was that a COVID-based decision, or was that something that you felt was going to help your development and possibly give you more looks at the Division I level? Bishop Hendricken, after my junior year, a lot of people around me wanted me to go to prep school just to play better competition and stuff like that. And my first reaction to that, going to prep school and stuff like that, I didn't really want to go to prep school just because I wanted to stay home, be local. I wanted to be close to my family and stuff like that. So I didn't really want to go, but I knew it was the right decision for me in terms of basketball and getting to where I wanted to be.
So ultimately, I feel like I made the right decision and stuff like that, and now I am here.
Do you feel that if you didn't make the jump to prep school and that you stayed at Bishop Hendricken through your senior season, do you feel like that you would have developed in the same way, or you would have had the same kind of looks and ideas about what college was going to look like for you?
If I didn't go to prep school, I don't know where I would be at if I would be here, but I feel like I would be at the Division I level just because I'm confident in myself and I believed in myself. I told my family members that I thought I could go Division I from Hendricken, but obviously they saw a different side of things and they didn't really want me to stay there. I was able to work out a little bit more at prep school. They care more about like your sport, whatever sport you play. And more at Bishop Hendricken, it was more like of classes and basketball. So I feel like, yeah, prep school definitely helped me get to where I'm at today.
So for any students who are currently in that situation, where they're trying to decide whether or not they should stick it out for another year, whether they should go to prep school and forego their senior year, or they should go to prep school after they graduate, do you have any advice that you would give someone trying to grapple with that decision?
Yeah, I would say ultimately just make the best decision for you. You can always ask people for advice, but I think that you should ultimately make that decision because you know it's best for you at the end of the day.
So now that the big portion of the interview is out of the way, I've just got some quick fire questions that I've gotten from Rhody fans and just from basketball fans in general about stuff that they would want to know about you, because obviously not that many people can truly get to know you beside the name they see on the back of the court. So for starters, you're a basketball player. What's your favorite NBA team?
Memphis Grizzlies.
Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah.
What's your prediction for the NBA Finals? Who do you think it's going to be? How many games?
I want to say the Memphis Grizzlies, but they're a young team, so I don't know if they have the experience. But realistically, I would say I like the Suns in the West, and I think the Nets will come out of the East.
Who do you think would win, Suns, Nets?
Nets.
Nets?
Yeah.
All right.
The fabled question, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, who are you taking?
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
If you could visit one country in the entire world, doesn't need to be a reason, but what's one country you would visit?
Italy.
Italy?
Yeah.
What is you said you played football and baseball growing up. What would you say is your favorite sport outside of basketball right now?
Football.
Football?
Yep.
Patriots fan?
No, not at all.
Really?
Rams fan.
Rams fan?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So, what would you say favorite food?
I have a couple. I like pasta, pizza, chicken, steak. Those are four of the main foods that I like to eat.
You said pizza. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You heard it here first, folks. Pineapple does not belong on pizza. And then one more question. This is a trend that has been going on for a while. What do you think there's more of in the world? Doors or wheels?
Want to say doors, but wheels, there's a lot of wheels that we don't really think of. Like, I was thinking about it, and like someone told me that there's wheels built in a shower. That's how you turn the thing. So after thinking about it, I'm still gonna go with doors. I'm gonna say doors. Yeah, I'm gonna say doors.
All right. Well, those are the quick fire questions. So one final question. This is a question that most athletes probably get asked, but this is something as a freshman that people are probably interested about. What's next for you? What's next for Sebastian Thomas? Are you going to just focus on school and then look for a career after that? Or do you think you're going to try and tip your hat for the NBA?
Definitely going to the NBA. Not saying I'm going to the NBA like that, but definitely trying to get to the NBA. I feel like I'm confident in myself, and I feel like I'll be able to put in the work and the amount of time to get there. So I feel like that's gonna happen for me.
All right. Well, thank you, Sebastian. Thank you for joining us, and that's all I have. Thanks again, everybody, for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.